Welcome to another Petersburg By Night revamped production. The following is rated for mature audiences and may contain graphic themes that will be distressing to some viewers. As always, we recommend you ensure the safety and well-being of yourself and those around you at all times. Viewer discretion is advised.
We stand at the edge of choice, where the paths before us twist and turn like shadows in the night. But what is choice, if not a delicate dance with fate? Each step we take, each turn we make, leads us closer to the unknown. Yet in the dim light of our decisions, do we truly understand the cost? Every choice whispers of freedom, yet carries the weight of consequence, like a specter that follows, unseen but ever present. The moment we choose, we summon this ghost to haunt us, to linger in the corners of our mind, reminding us that nothing is ever without its price. You see, choice is but the door to a labyrinth of outcomes. Some we walk through willingly, others we stumble into. Guided by forces we neither see nor understand. And within this maze, we find not only what we seek, but what we fear, what we dread, what we cannot escape. So as you stand upon the precipice of decision, ask yourself, what specter will you invite into your life? Will you choose the path that glimmers with promise, or the one shrouded in darkness? And when the echoes of your choice come back to haunt you, will you find solace in what you've gained, or tremble at the cost? Welcome to SPbN By Night, where we play St. Petersburg By Night, a massive multiplayer tabletop role-playing game set in the world of darkness. We play Vampire the Masquerade, Hunter the Reckoning, and Werewolf the Apocalypse. I'm your humble storyteller this evening, Devlin Kane, and I am one of many junior storytellers here at St. Pete. Make sure to check out SPbN By Night on all of our social media platforms. That includes X, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. But what you really need to go check out is our website, SPbN.com, where we have a city map, storyteller profiles, and a one-of-a-kind threat meter. If you're not already a subscriber here on Twitch, go ahead and hit that follow button. Go back and catch up on all of our past episodes. And if you wanted to play with us, come join our Discord server. Become a member of this amazing community. Tonight we're playing Bloody Strings, one of the many chronicles here at St. Pete by Night. Let's introduce our players. And these are my lovely players. Please introduce yourselves, everyone.
Hello all, I am Nori. I'll be playing Bellatrix, the sneaky Malkavian.
And I'm Kyrie. I'll be playing Grey Novak, Toreador with big dreams.
Hi, I'm Kendall. I'll be playing Maggie Haywood, the Curious Cicada.
Hello, I'm Lakar, and I'm playing Matthew Halden, the Toreador with a really good plan.
Hi, I'm Trucky XC, and I'm playing Nicholas Baldridge, an Epiphany too late, $1 short.
Hey, I'm Mew, and I'll be playing Sophie Clues, the Malted Milkshake Malkavian.
Thank you very much. Last we left off, after a few interesting revelations, an encounter with hunters, and a very interesting exchange with both Edwin and Alexei, some decisions were made. Nick, or Lyndon, was allowed to continue letting his lifeless heart beat, and has been brought into the plan in order to help get back Mina. A few people have made their own little contingencies should things go awry. And it is the night of the exchange. So we'll be picking up in an abandoned warehouse. Or not abandoned so much, but not currently in use. Kind of deep in the heart of the neutral zone. It's a small little kind of warehouse, mostly used for storage. There's a lot of crates, boxes, things like that on the inside. A couple people have already kind of moved into position, but there's some time before your quarry arrives. I will go ahead and hand you guys the scene. You are in the kind of center of the main room, getting everything finalized and in order. The scene is yours.
Matt, you honestly couldn't have picked something with a little better decor? Maybe?
Gray, I wasn't going for style. I know I don't feel any better about it than you do, but work with what you got. Improvise, overcome, adapt.
Sure. Yeah. But...
And I mean, worst case scenario, the building won't be up much longer.
We're not playing on fire, are we?
That depends on Alex this time around.
To be fair to Matt, I believe it was Nick who picked the spot.
Yeah, that makes it even easier for me to do what I'm about to do.
Yeah, but Matt approved it, so it's still his choice.
Yeah, but sight unseen, it happens. All right. Okay, so just in case, I'll go through it again, just so there's no confusion, or everybody is here, right?
Yes,
You're
before
muted.
anyone's in their positions or anything, like
right.
Nick's not walked up. At the current moment, you are in the room.
Okay. He's gonna put in his earpiece. All right. Bella, Ariel, pick a roof. Have fun. Don't get into trouble. If you see anything, say something. Miss Clues, if you would... I would absolutely appreciate it if you followed suit. Obviously a different roof. If you're okay with that.
Is there a particular signal that you'd like us to give if we see anything untoward?
brief, coherent. Just let us know, hey, I saw something. Give a quick, but...
Perhaps a barn owl?
Sure, if that'll make you happy.
What's a barn owl sound like? How is it different from other owls? Just out of curiosity.
Well, it's more like a whoo, whoo, instead of like a.
Okay. Keep that in mind.
Noted. Maggie, if you would like to keep your feet on the ground, keep yourself tucked away in a vehicle somewhere, just kind of keep an eye out on the entrance, just in case somebody comes in or goes out.
All right.
Gray, I know the place isn't, it's not how I pictured spending our nights together. I know it's not how you plan on spending some nights together. It's arm's reach, or at least close by. We can put our heads together and see if we can't mess with these guys.
More than happy to be your arm candy.
I know you would. And I will give you an even better job. Nick, I know this is not the ideal situation for you. I understand completely that you are comfortable being the man in the van with a plan. And I wouldn't ask this of anybody if I wasn't at least 80% sure that this plan will go out without a hitch. But considering who's possibly coming for you, I think you will be fine. So we're going to keep you tucked away. If you want to let us know, see, hear, smell, taste anything, just don't lick the walls. I don't know if this thing's been tested since the 50s.
Matt, don't. I know the level of be rid of you. Those kind words last time, but I recognize a show when I see one. It's okay. Do what you gotta do. If it gets me in the back, that's what's important.
How did you think we were doing? Actually giving you up?
Wouldn't shock me, nor would I blame you.
I'm going to go hide.
Anyway, just keep tucked in the corner. I'll have Gray come get you, and then we will go from there.
Good thing.
I'll take my position across a different roof from Bella, and I'll activate Obfuscate, Sense the Unseen, and Silence of Death.
I will be, taking a position at, like, an adjacent building. And I will be activating Sense the Unseen, Silence of Death, and the other hidey one.
Unseen Passage?
Unseen Passage, yes. The other hidey one. I will also be taking the last dose of Elevate that Spud gave me, which gives me a +1 to my dexterity for the scene.
Fantastic.
I'm going to be activating Sense the Unseen and Heightened Senses, and before she leaves the building, she'll kind of look over at Matt. He's 2 blocks away if she's injured. He's got a kit ready in the car.
Perfect, thank you.
And she will head out to the vehicle that she's stationed in.
Before everyone shows up, make my way over to Nick. If he shows up for you, could go bad for him. Could go bad for us.
There's
Without-
nothing I can do about it, Gray. But for what it's worth, I hope that it doesn't go bad for you guys.
And if it goes bad for him?
That's a more complicated answer.
Do you want it to go bad for him?
No, I don't. But if you're worried if I'm going to do anything to jeopardize what's going on here, I'm not going to. Alex
There's
is
after
smart.
this to consider as well.
I'm not entirely sure Alex will even show up. Never struck me as an idiot.
He did strike me as a bit desperate, though.
Hey, you know what they say. You go all the way for lovers, right, Gray?
Seriously. If you want him handled, but not ended, we can aim for that.
Prioritize Mina. Prioritize your lives, such as they are. We'll go from there.
Still trying to sacrifice yourself.
About all that's of value to it, and that's not even that much at the moment.
Let's work on that later.
Maybe.
Now I'm gonna go find my boyfriend.
Mhm.
Gonna go find Matt.
When Gray leaves, Devlin, Nick will set up to gather as much information with clairvoyance before everything moves, with the focus on acquiring Mina's state, how many people are coming in, and if Alex shows up in the area, until something draws him from being able to do that.
So go ahead and give me the roll, and I will give you those answers as they become relevant.
I will blood surge.
And you are doing
There we
this as kind of like a standing.
Standing, waiting until the moment, like get as much as fast as possible until something changes the situation.
Understood.
That is an 8 with a crit.
Perfect. I'll let you know if anything comes up. Gray, you go to Matt.
So you're taking the lead, right?
This time around, yes.
And you've got it, right?
I have to, Gray. I have to.
Get her and go. Let everything else sort itself out.
And he's going to kind of just chirp into the comms. Everybody try to stay safe. We'll get through this.
So all the prep is done, and everyone's in position. This is the last opportunity for any scenes anybody might wish to have before we move forward. Are we ready?
One thing, Maggie got a 4 with a crit on keeping the police out of the area. Do we know what that is?
Oh, my apologies. Yes, there will not be any presence unless things escalate to a point that they cannot ignore.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Everyone who is standing points and keeping an eye on things. That is Bellatrix, Maggie, and Sophie, correct? Please give me what's in the range rolls.
I got 3 successes and I spent a willpower.
That's 4 successes with a blood surge that increased hunger.
That is 8 successes.
Okay. Bellatrix and Sophie, you both have which disciplines active at the moment?
Since the Unseen, Silence of Death, and Unseen Passage.
Same for you? Okay. So, a little bit of time passes. Say roughly 40 minutes. Before anyone visibly catches anything, Nick, you feel the presence of Mina beginning to come close, and your question is how she's doing, like her physical state.
Yes.
We'll say on a scale of 1 to 10, she's doing about 6.
Okay.
There does seem to be a bit of pain, but nothing that's not manageable. Well, you got pretty hard. Yeah, okay. I'll say that you are able to kind of get a glimpse of her in some capacity. She is bound and gagged. There is a sack over her head. Her breathing seems to be strained. You can see there are some bruises on like her arm that you can't see visibly, but she is alive. Your other 2 questions, one was about how many there were, and the other is
How many?
Alex. So,
Alex.
as to how many there are, you can tell in the vehicles moving to location, there are 12 people within those vehicles.
Nick will relay to Matt. Mina's not in the best shape. She's alive, she's breathing, a little bit battered. They got her tied and gagged. We got about 12 people coming in. I do not feel Alex yet.
All right, just keep on it. Thank you, Nick.
About this point, 3 of you spot roughly, you spot 4 cars pulling toward the front, coming out of view for Bellatrix and Sophie as they pull to the front of the building. But Maggie, you see all 4 pull up, creating a space still open around where you know William to be stationed. You see the doors open. Immediately what pour out, you see about 5 individuals dressed in black, wearing body vests with like ski mask on. They step out, they kind of check the area. you see the doors open. You see 3 other individuals come out. They are dressed a little bit less generally. They don't look like they're necessarily dressed for battle. But you do see that they're armed. They also kind of give a little scan around. They go over and they look at William's wagon for a moment. And they turn back around. And you see them move to the trunks at a couple of the cars. At that point, the first car opens up on the passenger side. You see a tall individual, completely clothed from head to toe. You see a long kind of brown duster with the collar pulled up and a hat that seems to meet where the collar reaches. Steps out, moves toward the door, and waits a moment. The second car opens up. You see what looks to be an older gentleman, probably looks like a very healthy late 50, kind of slim, wearing a kind of like a light orange jacket, brown slacks, shoes. His hair is grayed, pulled back in a ponytail, with a very kind of like thick silvered mustache. Steps out with a big grin on his face and steps forward and waits over by the individual by the door. The third individual you see gets out of another car wearing a very fine suit, black suit with a red tie. Hair is kind of shaved, darker skin, steps forward and seems rather impatiently waiting as the people at the trunks pop them open. One pair you see pull out Mina. They carry her over and they set her on the ground. She kind of wriggles for a moment. You see one of them pull back and kick her, and she stops moving. Out of the other, you see them pull out what looks to be a young man. Hair is very short, kind of brown, kind of tan skin. He looks like he's wearing a sweater with a buttoned-up shirt underneath it, wearing slacks and shoes, like some loafers. And he looks like he's been beaten a bit, but he is bound behind his back and dragged forward. They sit here for a moment. You see a couple of them talking. Then the 3 individuals, the ones that are not dressed like they're here to fight, go in the door first. And at this point, Matthew and Gray.
He would be quietly relaying this, but in short terms, vague descriptions, and basically saying incoming, that they have two packages with them.
Matt and Gray. As you guys are sitting in the room by yourself. Let's do... Alright. While you guys are waiting, you hear the door open. A few people begin to pour in. You see the 3 Kindred that you can clearly see. They're not blushed or anything. Wearing kind of semi-formal clothing. Step in, make their way to kind of the sides of the entryway. Followed immediately by 5 individuals dressed like in military vest and such. One seems to be dragging a man you don't recognize. The other, one of them is holding Mina, who is face is concealed, but you are aware who it is. Stands to the other side of the door. Immediately followed by the man in the orange jacket, who steps to one side. The man who Ray already met, stepping to the other. What disciplines do you two have active?
Sense the unseen for me.
Yeah, he would have Sense the Unseen would have been active.
Please give me wits and aspects.
Three.
Three.
Critical success with an 8.
Matthew doesn't see anything but the people who have stepped in. Gray, you notice somebody starting to slowly kind of step through, not making any noise. You can tell that somebody who is obfuscated has stepped into the space, wearing a long duster and a hat concealing, kind of with his head tilted down, concealing many of his features. He looks and begins scanning the room, not fully aware that you've talked to him yet.
I am gonna pretend as if I've overlooked him and I'm focusing on the others, although I am going to keep an eye on him and where he's going.
As you observe him, give me manipulation and performance. You can use your specialty.
Four successes.
So, you are watching. He doesn't seem to block you. He seems pretty confident as he begins to kind of walk past as though he's heading over to look at the body. At this point, Walter kind of steps forward. I understand you have Mr. Kane's body.
It's a hell of an entourage for one guy you don't like, but yeah.
He walks over and he snatches the sack off of Mina's head. You see there is a bit of bruising, a little bit of blood, but nothing she can't recover from. But she does look like she's unconscious.
You know, if you would have just asked, I would have brought you to him.
That would have been a gamble.
You think I really liked that piece of shit? And he'll point towards the body.
I don't care what you like. I do know. You like this one?
Still, I think it would have been a hell of a gamble taking her. Because right now she seems alive. But if she wasn't, he'd be in the wind and I'd be very pissed at you right now. Now, I'm not saying I would win, but I'd really make most of you rethink your life choices.
Ray, while you are still watching, you continue scanning out the room, still primarily focused on Rutgers. You notice that the individual in the orange jacket seems to also be following. Watching.
I will kind of reach behind us and slide the body bag forward around the opposite direction of where the man in the duster is trying to get a view of it, and slide it in front of us as if presenting the body. They showed us Mina. I'll slide ours up.
Good point.
He looks down. He turns back and looks at the individual in the orange jacket. As you look over, you do see that Rutgers is now standing directly next to him. You see the man in the orange jacket kind of leaning to the side, listening. Well, it's a little hard to say. Hard to find a very clear image of the man.
Trust me, it wasn't easy getting him.
Well, that is why we brought our own bit of insurance. He kind of gestures over toward the people on the other side, and you see them drag the young man forward. Now that you get a clear sight of him, he is Kindred. He's dragged and he's looking at Edwin's body. Well, Duncan, is this the man who sent you to spy on us? He kind of looks down. Give me wits and insight. Both of you.
Two.
2 as well. But before he has a chance to respond, he says the name Duncan. Is this the man that you had several bourbons with?
This one was sent by Edwin to get head count. And the man in the orange jacket goes, and I have a very vested interest in this one. I don't know how close-knit all of you in St. Pete are, but I don't suppose you have met a Miss Clues.
Doesn't ring a bell.
It's unrelated. I'm only here for them.
I glance over at Mina and back at him.
What did you get on your insight rolls?
2.
And Matt?
2 as well.
He's a little hard to read. You see he kind of raises an eyebrow as he looks at the body, And then while his back is turned to the rest of the group, he kind of looks up at the two of you. You can tell that he knows something is off, but he hasn't outright answered yet. He turns back.
Maybe you need a
honestly,
closer look.
Sure. Yes, maybe I do. He kind of gets a little closer, begins leaning down. You can see, I'll say you guys can tell he's no longer inspecting them. He seems to be just kind of looking for something specific. He steps back. I think it could be him. I only met him a couple of times, but I would have thought it was him if I stepped in the room to speak with him. You see Walter kind of sit there for a moment. He looks at the two of you. Looks at Gray. Pull the stick.
Oh. You pulled the stake. Do you think that happened willingly?
Oh, I'm not reliving that. No, hell no. You want it, you come get it.
Whichever one of you has the highest manipulation and subterfuge, go ahead and roll that bet out of die.
I got 6.
Does my specialty apply?
Sure, yeah.
Alright, I've got 8 then.
Okay.
Eight successes after the blood search. We brought him here. You want the stake out? You pull it out. You can deal with it, whatever happens afterwards. I just recommend you not do it.
And
If
the
you
hell we
value
had to
your
go
life.
through to get him in that state? Mm-mm.
He looks over at the guys dragging Duncan and nods backward. You see them take a step back, and then he walks forward. Puts his hand on the stake.
I'm going to take a step away from the body bag. I'm going to pull Matt along with me.
Yeah, I was going to say Matt's stepping back too.
Oh, away from the man in the duster.
You see his grip on the stake tighten, and he goes to pull. We're going to shift scenes for a moment. The following scenes, what happens, are going to determine how this exchange progresses. So, first, Nick. As you are sitting in the back room, waiting, your clairvoyance, something pops off again. However, you know that if you weren't as strong as you were, you would have missed this entirely. Something is obscuring itself from your sight. And since 3 questions are answered, it must only be 1. Or 2 questions are answered, it has to be the other. And it's kind of a sensation of like you are hyper aware of what's not there. There is an absence that your reach doesn't touch. And it seems to be closing in on Bellatrix. Can't do.
Bella, he's coming, and he has a way to try to obscure me. He's heading your way.
I'm going to look around.
You take a moment to glance around. Before long, you see a hand reach over the side of the booth across from you and just kind of hoist themselves up and perch themselves on the edge of the wall is Alex. He has the crossbow at his side, his hand off of it, and he kind of rests his elbows on his knees.
Is he looking at me?
Not looking at you, but he is facing your direction. He is holding something. You have sensed the unseen? He is holding something that, as he kind of scans the roof, he doesn't look at you directly, but he is fixed on your location. As if he doesn't need to see you.
But he can sense.
He can sense your presence.
I'm going to move off the roof.
As you go to move, he kind of, I'm just here to talk.
I'll deactivate silence of death. He's in the building.
I know.
Lyndon's gone.
He's not. Look, I don't expect you to understand what's happening. And I didn't attack again. The first time that night was just a message. Let you know we could. Nick has regained some of his strength. A little harder to get past him. I'm sure he knows I'm here regardless of what protections I got. But I didn't attack again because I knew that you would likely bring me here. Now my friends and I are more than happy to take the opportunity and destroy every leech in that building. But like I told Gray, out of respect, I'm offering you the opportunity to walk away.
Why'd you aim for Sophie?
She was the one in the window.
It's fair.
And that wasn't me. That was Travis. He's a better shot than I am.
Sorry about him. That apparently was a mistake. I wasn't there.
Me too.
Have we been able to listen in on the conversation in the building via the head?
A little bit. At this point, I'd say you're probably hearing the exchange with the man in the orange jacket. I'll just Julian.
There are 4. Not to kill. Matt, Gray, Matt's girl Mina, and the other people are holding captive. I believe his name's Duncan. I won't stand in your way for Nick. But leave them out of it. And leave my tea shop out of it.
What of your tea shop?
What?
What about your tea shop?
You know where it is. Leave it out of it.
Stay out of my way. I have no reason to.
Done.
I let the others know.
On the thing. He says if we don't stand in his way, he'll take care of everybody else. But he wants Nick. If we do stand in his way, he'll come for us too. I told him I won't stand in his way. Sorry, Nick.
Ray,
Don't be.
Matthew, you don't hear this.
Don't be. I agree.
I'm not getting a response from Gray or Matt, but they might be still trying to play out something.
You said we can still hear their conversation, Devlin?
About the point where she starts to address, you guys don't hear Gray, Matt at all.
There's something jamming it. That cut off too quickly.
I'll look to Alex. Nick and Gray are being jammed. If you don't hurt Mina, I don't think Matt's gonna do anything, and I doubt Gray will do anything. But if they do, that's on them.
Now, how truthful is Bellatrix being in this moment?
Truthful. Completely truthful. Nick's on his own on this. I've got my own people to protect.
Okay. Give me charisma persuasion.
Cool. Five successes with the blood surge, but I made my hunger's unchanged.
He sits there for a moment. Where's the end of the building?
There's a back room. I'll give directions to where the room is. He's hiding out there. Might be tied up. Gagged. I don't really know what Matt did after I left the building.
He picks up his phone. You see him push a few keys. And he puts his phone back in his pocket. For what it's worth, with the exception of Gray, you all weren't that bad.
What? What did he say?
Said for what it's worth, with the exception of Gray, y'all weren't that bad. He stands up. He picks up the crossbow. And you see him pop off. As he does, he pulls this hook, flings it to the side where it beats the ledge and falls down. Give me what's an awareness.
Me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I am not the most aware being tonight. Spin a willpower, got 1 success.
You don't notice what's about to happen. You'll shift over. So good. While you are kind of waiting, listening to things, you hear the exchange with Bellatrix and Alex. You hear Nick on the line, and shortly before you hear the silence where Gray and Matt were, you hear someone say the name Duncan. Do you do anything in this moment?
Hearing the exchange between Alex and Bella, I'll take a look at the number of kindred on the street below, and I'm going to go toward the end side of the building, and I have a perfume bottle. I'm going to drop it to try to maybe lure 1 or 2 away from the rest of the group.
So you're getting down from your perch to get closer to drop perfume?
No. So I'm just going to drop it from the roof so it'll clash and clatter in the alleyway.
Okay. Give me you know what, now I think this is a thing I'll make them do. Hang on. You make a pretty decent sound. Still quiet. It's not like it's a small glass bottle, but I will say to people inside, Matt and Gray, you clock that one of the 3 smaller kindred kind of click their head, tap the other shoulder, gesture back toward the door, and you see the 2 of them break away. As they go and investigate the alleyway. Sophie, give me what's awareness. And a dex and stealth.
And just a dex, you said?
And a dex and stealth.
Dex and stealth, okay. Was the blood surge from wits and awareness before? Has that worn off by now?
Your blood surge is for everyone. So you have to do it each time you want to do something.
That is 2 for wits and awareness. And 2 for dex and stealth.
Okay. They are, as you're watching them, they come out, they go, and then they begin to investigate the perfume. They see the bottle. They look at it. They kind of look around the alleyway. And then finally, both of them look up. You pull back, but not quite fast enough. You think one of them noticed you. And you can hear from below, one of them goes, "Hey, we think they might have some people posted up. This might be an ambush." Hello? No. They jam the radio. We need to get back in there. And they start to head back into, toward the front of the building. At this moment, you notice something move on the central roof, but you don't get a good look at it yet. Maggie. As you are watching, you see the two, you hear everything on the radio with the exception of Ray and Matt going silent. You notice the two people come out, begin investigating. Kind of, they go a little out of your view as they get deeper in the alleyway. You get a text from William. Something is off. There's some kind of interference inside. Do you want me to do it with them?
She will ask what he can do. Or is he just waiting to get her out of there?
I can get you out of here, or I can help do a sweep.
Hindle is blanking. What's a sweep?
He'll go in and go to work. You are aware that he is a Pinkerton. He is a very violent enforcer for the bank, Hakata banks.
Is this with or without prejudice?
Why would I bother with that?
Because there are people in there that I need to make sure that I get out.
Give me fast descriptions while I get ready. And you see him get out of the car and move to the back of the wagon and drag out 3 bodies.
Okay. She will give descriptions of the 2 bodies that she saw that were pulled out. Matthew, Ray, and Nick.
Okay. The bodies, as he goes back and closes the door, begin to kind of slowly stand. You see him kind of move his hands about. The 3 of them kind of get in line, form a wall. He pulls out a rifle, puts it on his shoulder, on the one in the center, and begins moving toward the door. Give me what's
She is
awareness.
going to. I'm sorry, my earbud decided to speak to me. What was that?
Give me what's an awareness.
Okay. She's going to say into the earbud, for those that can hear me, I have someone coming in. What's an awareness? Right, that is a 7 with a crit. I spent a willpower, and a blood surge
Just
did
7
not
with a
get
crit?
hungrier. Yep.
About this moment, as you see William begin to storm in, you notice on the roof, you see Edwin. He seems to be moving something, bits of stone, like he's digging with his hand. And then you see him seem to vanish in shadow. Seems to go dark and then shrink down.
Okay.
Now, we shift back to the stake. You see him rip the stake out of the body. They watch for a moment. When he doesn't move, Walter looks up at you. Great. He pulls the stake up. Did you think you'd get away with that?
I will turn and look at Matt, absolutely flabbergasted, like I have no idea what's going on. Did you switch the bodies?
No, I didn't Go get him. And he'll look really pissed off. And make sure he's got a fucking muzzle on.
Nod my head.
Manipulation and subterfuge, Matt. With a die because of Grace help.
And do I get my specialty?
Or subterfuge?
For my acting.
This isn't. I'll allow it.
I'm gonna blood surge too.
Gray, as this is happening, you look and you see Rutkus. Looks like he is moved in front and is talking to the guy, not Julian, but the guy holding Mina. Give me a wits and insight.
Straight 7. And I spent a willpower.
Walter kind of freezes. It looks like he's getting ready to advance. But then he stops. Watches you. Ray, what do you do? Well, what result this roll first?
3 successes on the wits and insight.
On the wits and insight? It looks like he is talking, but you do see There is a peculiar motion of movement in the way that he's communicating, but it's hard to tell anything more specific. After Walter pauses, what do you do after Matthew gives you the order?
Put my hands up. Look. Okay. Matt, explain it to them. I'll go get him. Is there an opportunity that I have to accidentally bump into the man in the duster on my way to go get Nick?
Let's see. Do that. You could do it, but I would need a very convincing. Let's see. I would need a very convincing manipulation performance.
I will see if I can give you that. After the blood surge is 8 with a critical enough.
Okay. You walk over. You're about to bump into him. The guy that is holding Mina spots you approaching. It seems to shift a little bit, but you do well enough. You still bump, causing Rutgers to step away. At this moment, you notice his wrist is bleeding. And there is a puddle of blood in the floor at the foot of the muscle.
I'm going to continue on to go get Nick, but hopefully that gives Matt enough to see what was happening there.
Matt, give me a wits and awareness with a 2 dice penalty considering your performance and trying to control the scene.
Just one.
Ray, you head back into the room to find Nick. We'll go ahead and shift it there for a moment. Nick, Ray steps in the room.
He angles his head a bit.
Showtime.
Alex is here. And Bella's given him carte blanche to come in.
Then he's just as obsessed as I thought he'd be.
Just don't attack the hunters. It seems that they're going to take care of the problem. Yeah, try to.
They're part of the problem. But we'll deal with them.
You know what I mean, Gray? As in, they're not going to attack you.
I will fit the gag into Nick's mouth as he is saying that. And
He just rolls his eyes.
tighten it up a little too tight. And lead him out.
Nick, you've been kind of following. You still have the same number of people that are present. 2 things have shifted regarding your clairvoyance that you are going to notice in this moment as the gag is getting put over your mouth. Actually, you know what? Give me a. I'll give you an opportunity. Give me a Give me what's an awareness.
Searching. Get hungry. I'm going to spend a will. That's just 4.
4. As the gag goes over your mouth and you are getting pushed out the door into the main room, your clairvoyance pops again. 2 questions get re-answered. 1, Alex is positioning himself behind the building where you were located. 2, Mina is about to die. Her blood is rapidly draining.
With all he can with his throat, he's going to try to scream out Mina. Trying to use his throat.
Matthew, give me... What's an insight? Sorry, a lot of dice rolling happening in this episode, yes?
You said wits and insight?
Yes.
No penalty on this one?
You can hear Nicholas, which is related to the scene you're in, so I will say no penalty.
Three.
You watch Nick as he comes out. He's screaming something, which at first might be attributed to just a performance. But he keeps jerking off in a direction, and finally your eyes follow. You see Mina bleeding in that guy's arms, and you see her mouth is full of blood. Her throat.
I'm gonna have to roll a frenzy road. And
Give me a frenzy roll.
unspent will and third of the humanity?
Yes.
Yeah.
Three.
You just succeed. You don't immediately flip out. Gray, at this moment, still riding off of your crit wits versus wit aspects earlier. You are allowed in this moment to see Hodges, who is standing behind Walter, holding a shotgun in his hand, and then he fires off a dragon breath round at the back of Walter's head. At this moment, you hear a door bust open as several of the guards turn around and start opening fire on a wall of zombies, being followed by William Beaumont, who is currently ripping through them with an automatic rifle. You see Hodges get clipped in this moment, and then you hear something collapse from above as part of the roof tumbles down to the ground. And a sea of shadow begins to fill the space as everyone is just a big cloud. And we're going to go into a break. Thank you for tagging along so far, and we will see you soon. Hello and welcome back. As we left off, Coterie was in the middle of the exchange when a couple of, we'll call them added obstacles, came into play. A couple being contingencies that were brought in by the Coterie that went awry, and one being part of a plan that ended up being a little more elusive until, I guess we'll see what happens in a few months. Everything came to a head in the exchange room. Nick caught that Mina was on the verge of dying. As he avoided frenzy, Gray, bringing out Nick, saw that Hodges reappeared as William Beaumont barge started storming the location and started opening fire. Hodges fired a dragon's breath round into the back of Walter's head, and that's also when you notice that the ceiling began to crumble up top as a wall of darkness began to fill through. And that is where we will be picking up. Now, it takes no time at all before the entire space fills. You can still feel whatever it is that you were holding on to or clinging to. Nick and Gray are with each other. Matt, at the current moment, you're kind of alone. It's so dense you can't really see. Like, if you put your arm out at full distance, it becomes obscured by shadow. You feel a kind of weighted presence. About that moment, you hear a voice. Kane is here. As Ruckus begins to move through the shadow, you still hear gunfire going on. Which I will say, the three of you now hear gunfire coming from outside the building. Coming from within the building. Those who are standing watch. So we'll do this, before we start going through the intro space, as you guys begin to hear gunfire, what do you do?
I am climbing off the building. Go ahead.
Maggie, sorry.
Sophie is hooing like an owl, the barn owl, and she's attempting to climb down the building still as stealthily as she can. Oh, and she has her purse slung over. She's feeling a little peckish, and she's thinking of the bags of blood that are in the purse.
Okay.
Maggie is going to continue to keep an eye out from where she is seated. Where she is in the vehicle. She's not suited for combat, but she is keeping watch.
You see Bellatrix and Sophie begin to scale the building down.
We are still obfuscated, I think.
Oh, that is... Oh, then I should have made you roll for stealth earlier. Whoops. So, never mind, you don't see that. What you do see are the two sentries that went out to investigate the perfume begin to come back around and start to head into the building back behind where you saw William Winter. But when you see the door open, you see what almost appears to be just a cloud of dark. Bellatrix, when you climb down... Oh, go ahead.
She's going to slide a pair of sunglasses on and activate Oblivion Sight to see if she can see through it.
Your vision is no longer obscured when you use Oblivion Sight.
Okay, what does she see from her limited space?
You just kind of see where the door goes into the hallway. You now can just see the hallway well, and you see them beginning... You see them stop as they are looking at, like, fog wall, trying to communicate anything inside, but hesitant to step inside.
Okay. She will pass this on to Bellatrix and Sophie, and whoever can still hear her over the comms. That there are people hesitant. They can't see.
Do you mention it's Oblivion?
He will. Yeah, she will mention that it is Oblivion darkness because you wouldn't be able to see it through it with your regular senses.
Okay.
What do you do, Bellatrix, as you climb down? Or making your way over and receive that different information?
Are the men still at the doorway?
They are observing this fog wall. They won't step across, but you see them kind of shouting in to try to get anyone's attention. You can still hear the gunfire, but they're standing there with their back turned away from you.
Okay. I'm gonna pull out the my handy stake or my bolt stake gun, and I'm just gonna take the stake out of it, and I'm gonna head around to where the other side of the cars, where even though I'm still obfuscated, but I'll be blocked, and I'm gonna start deflating the tires, just stabbing the stake in.
Okay.
Of their cars.
So you just start attacking the cars, just damage.
The tires, just the tires. Yeah.
Sure. Give me a strength and melee, and we'll just call it the roll for across the board.
Okay. I'm going to activate. What the hell is it? Yeah, I'm gonna activate. Where did the thing go? Oh, there we go. Herd mindset to allow me to get 2 dots of melee.
Sure.
All right. Two successes.
Okay, yeah. Easy enough. You are puncturing the tires. Give me a wits and awareness. While you're doing that, Sophie, what are you doing?
I'm going to run over to the car where Maggie was, and I'm going to open the back seat and throw my purse in there, and then close it, re-up my unseen passage, and then head towards the back of the building to where Alex, around that area where he would be.
You begin to make your way around the back. You pass Bellatrix, who you see is just stabbing tires in cars. You go around down the alleyway, go back around the building. Where at this moment, you see 3 individuals. All 3 of them wearing military fatigues. 2 of them are wearing masks. 1 is not wearing a mask. When you walk around the corner, he immediately turns his head and clocks you, and you see him pull up a shotgun that he aims at you. He doesn't see you, but he is looking for something in your direction, and as he kind of waves the gun back and forth, at a certain point, it begins to hover uncomfortably close to your position.
Now, I don't mean to alarm you, but there's a lot of darkness in there, and you might not be able to see. I'm trying to get someone out, and I think I might be able to help them come toward me if they hear my voice, but there are also dead people walking in on the other side. So I'm trying to enter this way. But yes, if you go in there, I don't think you'll be able to see.
We shouldn't have to do much of anything. It should be on the other side of as well. And then he reaches over and he grabs this object, kind of like a little amulet around his neck, holds onto it for a moment. Fuck, they move him further in the building. He has the gun still trained in your location. I thought we agreed Nick stay in this position.
Oh, I don't know anything in the building that's happening. They're cut off from us. I tried to hoot very loudly, but it's very loud in there. I don't think they've heard me, and we are running out of time a bit.
Give me charisma persuasion.
I was trying to re-roll multiple, but I think I only was able to make a re-roll one. There's 2 successes.
Hit except, or you did a reroll?
Yeah, I tried to, but it doesn't have the accept anymore.
You hit the downward arrow after you hit your you hit your choices for reroll. Oh, you can't reroll hunger.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, he sits there for a moment, kind of looks at you, looks back to the rest of the cell. Fucking great. He steps back. He looks at the other 2, says get in position. The other 2 take off. He looks at you. I don't believe you.
Wait, hold on. Sorry. It doesn't look like it was actually registering my regular dice pool.
What is your dice pool for that roll?
5.
It's showing 5. It shows you have 4 hunger. Do you have 4 hunger?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it took 4 of the dice from your 5 dice pool and put it under hunger, and you got the 10 on your regular die.
Right, your hunger replaces dice in your dice pool.
Oh, okay. That
Yeah.
makes more sense. Sorry.
No worries.
I was confused.
All good. So, he holds the gun to you. I don't believe you. But, if you do have something that you're trying to get out, you got roughly a minute to figure that out. And he turns to walk away.
All right. Well, if you'll just excuse me, I'll just slip by, and I will give you 60 seconds on the dot, and then I'll be out of here. She'll try to move into the building, and from the back door, she's going to start singing "Somewhere Over the Rainbow."
Okay. Give me charisma and performance. You may also use specialty. So,
3 successes.
okay. Those 3 scenes resolved at the moment. Really good for them. Inside the building. Nick, you are bounding down. Ray, you're still holding Nick. And Matt, you just had to fight off the frenzy. And now everything's obscured. What are the 3 of you doing?
As a response to the darkness filling the room, can I use rapid reflexes to pull my knife and cut the bonds off of Nick?
I'll allow it. Give me a dex and athletics just to work efficiency in cutting the binds. But I won't count this toward your action.
Three successes.
Yeah, you very quickly cut the bindings. The shadow takes.
At that point, I would normally use heightened senses in order to pierce darkness like this, but given the fact that there's gunfire, I don't necessarily want to subject myself to that at the same time. Is it possible to use reveal temperament to know what in this space is mortal and what in this space is kindred? By, say, smell.
This is an ability you're using, or you're just trying to really?
Yeah, it's Auspex, reveal temperament.
Just. Okay. Go ahead and make the roll. But because of the... I'll check this one real quick. You do take a 3 dice penalty. .
3 successes.
Okay, considering the situation, they also are affected by this. You wouldn't be able to necessarily pinpoint location, but I will allow you to determine how many of a particular type of thing are in the room.
Okay.
So, what do you want to know?
How many are mortal? How many are kindred?
I guess that would technically answer its own question. So, fair enough. Remaining in the room. There are at present 9 kindred. Four mortals and 3 rotten corpses.
Nick brought friends. All right. I'm going to find the nearest wall and press myself up against that, hopefully putting it between me and everyone else, and see if this darkness clears.
You wouldn't have gotten very far from the office, so would you maybe have gone back that way?
If I know the direction that is in this darkness, then yes, I'll definitely dip back that direction.
Okay. So you dip back, kind of get yourself in the office. You see that the smoke doesn't really come into here so much once you close the door. The cloud seems to be isolated to the room.
Right. I am going to give it a moment then, and see how much the chaos ensues before I step back out into it.
Nick. Right before the shadow drops, you feel your hands go free. You know Mina is directly to your right. Or was anyway. And you know Matthew was somewhere in front of you. And Gray was behind you. What do you wish to do?
And since the unseen cannot pierce this darkness, correct?
Let me double check. I don't believe so.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yes, so this is just something, the smoke is seeable. It's not going to let you see through it. This is something to try to see something that's invisible.
So, I've had my clairvoyance tied to Mina's state. Can I use a rousable use to secure her and use clairvoyance to guide me, try to guide myself out with her dragging her body?
Give me a roll with a 3 dice penalty. And we'll see what all you can leave from it.
Alright. I will blood search. Your dice penalty. I'll spend my last unspent willpower. Five successes.
So, that's the case. I will say you easily enough are able to locate Mina. And I will not make you suffer penalties for navigating the darkness on your way out. But it does not tell you directly how to get there.
Okay.
So, you step over. When the shadows dropped, you find the person that was holding Mina has fucked off. Mina's on the ground. You pick her up. She is just kind of limp in your arms. She's not doing well. In doing so, you are not able to maintain... You don't get to mystically be aware of how she's doing it.
Mhm.
As you were holding her... Give me... Since you are doing this kind of mystically, I'll allow you to do a wits and insight to try to navigate the space.
All right. And when my willpower has been spent, what's the penalty?
Oh, all your willpower is spent?
Mm-hmm.
You are impaired. However, because of the clairvoyance, I said you aren't taking penalties for this particular action.
Okay. What's an insight it is? That is us. Browse. Screw it. Going for broke. God damn it.
To answer your question, it's a 2 dice penalty. Whenever you come out to that.
Blood surged and at 4 hunger now.
You're at 4 hunger?
Mm-hmm.
I do need you to make a frenzy check.
Yep. Well, that one was, yeah, let me do the frenzy real quick. Unspent willpower plus a third of humanity.
No,
Bag doesn't count towards the...
I need to double check something.
Okay.
Because this might get real interesting.
What was the messy crit on? Look, Nick?
The wits and
Or-
insight. He is gagged.
Your hands are also free.
True. I'll have to take a moment.
It is all rolls. So, due to Stygian Cloud, as well as your impairment, you take a 5 dice penalty on your frenzy check.
I take it I can't roll less than 1 die, or do I just automatically fail?
You have a minimum of 1.
Okay.
However, you're at hunger 4 and in the presence of blood. Okay. It's impossible to succeed.
It is possible. I feel that's worth pointing out. Oh, well, but those don't have bestial or missies. Okay.
You are making your way to the door. You're navigating. You can hear the bullets whizzing by your head. You feel yourself shoved past something, but you can kind of see just the little amount of light trying to breach the cloud. As you make your way there, something rips onto you. You feel a fierce hunger. You can smell the blood just in your arms. With no willpower to stave off the frenzy, you drop. And you feet. You will slake 2 hunger. And for failing one of your chronicle tenets and one of your convictions, I need you to take 2 stains. Give me a composure and resolve.
Oh. Two, with a possible bestial failure.
After you have slated a couple of hunger, you manage to kind of like hold yourself in for a moment. And we're going to come back to this. Matthew, you hear the gunshots going off. You hear Rutgus storm off in some direction. There's a lot of chaos going on. You hear Hodges maniacally laughing out of nowhere somewhere in the shadows. What do you do?
Matt's gonna try to get low enough and go towards the direction that he last saw Mina to see if he can't get out of this and find her.
With a 3 dice penalty. Please give me wits and survival. To navigate the space with all the dangers that are present, with no sight.
You said 3 dice penalty?
Yeah.
Oof, that's gonna hurt. I am going to blood surge that so I have dice to roll.
You still have a minimum of 1. It won't drop it to 0.
Oh, it's gonna be 1. Because that's what my wits is, and I have no survival. 2.
2. You manage to make your way over to the general space. You feel the still warm blood on the ground. As you feel around trying to find a body, you don't. I mean, it's not in the space. Giving her condition, she couldn't have gotten someone.
Can I try to use heightened senses to follow the scent of the blood?
Okay. Go ahead and give me a wits and awareness. Still with a 3 dice penalty.
Three.
Okay. You manage to follow the blood. It gets a little chaotic, but you can still kind of smell her. Something is almost pulling you in this direction. You feel, give me, in the middle of this, things have escalated a little further. Please give me a dex and athletics. Because you are now going across a full crossfire.
Still with the penalty?
Yes.
Another 3.
You take 1 superficial damage as a bullet pierces through your arm, but manage to mostly come unscathed because they also have negatives to their shooting. As you are going through, you manage to bump into something, and you feel a form, but the form is shaking aggressively. And that's when you hear what sounds like rending flesh. And we'll come back to that. Sophie, you step inside, and you see you're in this office. Ray is kind of backed against the wall across from a door going into the main room. You both hear someone kind of messing with the door, trying to get into the room.
I mean, I'm still singing, but I guess I'll turn to Gray very quickly, and I'll say, Alex's group is right behind me. They're very upset, and they're coming in here in probably about 30 seconds now. Duncan might be trying to get in.
Alex, you say?
Yes, with a group of friends. Oh, right, the pieces. Yes, Alex confronted Bella and then came around and is looking for Nick, and they're very upset that Nick is not in this room, and they're about to come in here in 25 seconds.
Then I'm going to stow my knife very quickly. Conceal it again. And
Go ahead and give me
back away from the door, out of the office, and leave a clear path for them to come through here. I do not intend to get in their way until it becomes necessary.
I guess Sophie will obfuscate and then open the door. Or, I guess you can't really interact, can you?
Light activities like opening a door. I'm not gonna.
Okay, sure. I'll open the door and stand back.
When you open the door, a little bit of shadow falls through, and following it, Duncan, whose hands are still bound behind his back, kind of stumbles it.
I'll grab my knife from my garter and attempt to cut his bindings.
Without the stress of the situation, not too difficult. He kicks the door closed as he collapses, and when you cut his hands free, he pushes himself up and looks up, only sees Gray. Well, I guess you cutting the binds would have dropped your oxygen.
Yeah, so I'll grab his arm and I'll say, we must be going, and then I'll try to bring him out toward the back. And as I'm running, I'll say, it's been wonderful, Alex. I hope you have a great time, but we're going to send off. Good luck.
You dragging Duncan, he kind of looks over at Gray as you take him out of the room, and he follows after you.
I'll say, Gray, feel free to follow. If you desire, or stay here, it's up to you.
I'll be right behind you. Just trying to gather myself, really. 4 successes on hiding the knife.
Okay. Shortly after she leaves, you see an individual wearing fatigues and a mask step into the room. He has a gun. He clocks you, looks over at the door, and then back over to you.
Back away from the door, gesture towards it, put both my hands up. You're with Alex. Everything's happening in there, and it's frightfully dark.
He steps over, puts his back to the wall over by the door, and seems to be waiting, but he doesn't take his eyes off you.
I'm not going to take mine off him either.
Bellatrix. You finished puncturing the tires on these cars. About this point, one of them turns, sees a couple of them are fucked up. Are you hiding? Are you doing this? Like, give me a dex and stealth.
Okay. Skulking count? My skulking specialty?
I'd say so.
Okay. Critical success with 5 successes.
One of them kind of turns and goes, "The fuck happened to all the cars?" And they go out, and one of them goes out and starts checking them. Are you able to hear from anyone yet? No. You hear the gun firing beginning to slow down. Do you do anything this moment?
Alright, fuck it. I'll drop Unseen Passage right in front of the dude, so he could be surprised enough to look me in the eye.
100%.
Demontation. You should go inside, see what's going on.
Okay.
Also, probably attack your friend. He's after you.
What is the roll against that again? What's that?
I am pulling it up. Manipulation and dominate versus composure and intelligence.
Okay, yeah. Give me a roll.
Cool.
You gotta beat 2.
Cool. Well, I got hungrier from activating it, but that's not a big deal. I'm also blood surging before the roll. That's right. 6 successes.
6 successes. Okay. The panic of the situation, everything that's happening, you watch as something just breaks behind this dude's eyes. He turns around, pulls out his gun, and begins to empty it at his companion. Guy takes a few bullets, he starts to step back and goes, fuck, and he reaches back to grab his gun, and as he goes to pull it back, you see from out of the wall, shadow wrap around him and yank him into the dark. The other guy charges him after.
Oh no! His friend got grabbed. The minute he's gone, I'm activating Unseen Passage again.
At this moment, everyone hears an explosion coming from the northwest side of the building. When this happens, the shadows drop. Gray, you hear the explosion is heard. You see the guy immediately reach over, sling open the door, and go to storm in.
Can I use rapid reflexes to quickly close the distance with him and stab him in the neck?
Are you trying to be sneaky about this at all, or are you just going in?
If I am fast enough that he can't react, then no. But if he looks like he has clocked me, or then yes, I do. I don't want him to notice. Either way.
Go ahead and give me Dex and melee. You can use your specialty. If you beat his difficulty by 4 or more successes, he will not have caught you.
Six successes.
Six.
Yes.
He does notice you, but you still beat his difficulty. You charge forward, you do manage to cut him across the neck, you deal a pretty nasty blow. He spins around. What do you do next? Are you just... What's your intention?
Stay out of... Is it... What weapon is he armed with?
It looks like a rifle. Like a
stay out of his
machine
front
gun.
arc. Yeah, I want to stay out of his front arc. The minute he tries to pull the gun on me, I just want to continue to shift side to side. Using celerity.
Right, okay. So are you attempting to stab or just dodge? Just
Stab him, and then as he's spinning around to try to do something about it, just dodge at that
This is
point and let him bleed out.
sorry, let me rephrase. This is kind of a... Okay, so dodge. Give me a Dex and Athletics.
Yeah. Five successes.
Okay. He turns around, firing the gun, just trying to hit you as he starts to go down. You manage to evade the bullets, kind of duck down over the side as his finger loses the trigger. He staggers from collapses. You see the cloud dissipating.
Sophie said it was Alex and 2 others, right? Okay, 1 down.
Matthew. You hear the explosion when everything kind of begins to resettle, the smoke begins to clear. You realize you're standing up with Nick, who is crouched over Nina. He is very tight. Please take a stain. 2 stains, actually. Before I settle on that, let me look at your convictions. A 3rd for failing the Chronicle Tenant. So that's it.
So I take 2 or 3.
3. 2 for losing your only touchdown, 1 for failing the tenant. I need you to give me an inference roll.
Five.
You managed to not frenzy, but you do feel a powerful sting of betrayal. And that's when you manage to regain your composure, that's when you realize standing a cub of feet in front of Nick is Alex, pointing a crossbow down at Nick, and next to him, a masked individual pointing a shotgun at you. Do you do anything in this moment?
He's focused on Mina, but if he knows they're there, he's not gonna break contact from her. He's just gonna say, if you're gonna do it, just do it.
Nick, at this moment, you're not fully aware of everything that's going on. You are still deep in a frenzy. You're still hungry. You see feet in front of you. You look up. You see Alex. Because of your composure and resolve, you have a moment of hesitation. When you hear Alex say, I'm putting you down, Linden. He points the crossbow up at you. You feel yourself quickly moving up onto your feet. You see yourself getting closer. His expression never changing. And then you see this split moment where his determined expression drops to one of absolute nothing. his expression blanks. His eyes seem to just pause. You see the one on the right suddenly begin to swell red as you watch an exit wound go through the other side of Alex's head as he collapses to the ground, but not before you latch into his neck and drink what blood is still there. Another bullet, the other hunter goes down. Matthew, please give me with some awareness.
I'm gonna keep it, messy crit.
Your plan compulsion sets in. I think target Mika. However, you spot across the street, a few buildings down, Kyle Mactier, who works for Edwin King, positioned on top of the roof with a sniper. Packing up his rifle, is stepping away. Nick, at this moment, your hunger reaches 0, and you finally have a moment of clarity. As it begins to set in, what has happened here? Matthew, your clan compulsion.
Oh, thank you.
You are now standing over the dead Alex, and behind you is Mina. With Matthew standing over her. I will kind of create an isolated scene here. The scene belongs to you two.
Real quick question, Devin.
Yep.
Is Mina... No other way to put it. Is Mina beyond embracing?
There was an opportunity. She was pretty much brought to the point of embracing when you got a hold. That time, that opportunity has passed.
Nick just lowers Alex slowly.
Matt is just running fingers through her hair and just staring down at her, and he is just hysterically crying. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I was gonna steal the Eiffel Tower for a third time, and we were gonna buy that island. I should have married you when I had the chance. I should have never taken that offer from Louis. I guess just like me now, you're not... You're gonna be timeless. In 100 years, you'd still be perfect. I'm sorry, Duchess. I never stopped loving you. And I really didn't want you to be anywhere near this. But once again, I got you involved. And I can't save you this time. And he's just gonna completely go quiet and just continue running a hand through her hair.
What is Nicholas doing this moment?
Nicholas will have let him feel his grief, moving Alex and sitting him against the wall.
Give me what's in on that. Say what you're gonna say, just when you get the moment.
What weapons were on the hunters?
The other one had a shotgun. And he had a knife. Alex had the crossbow. Modified crossbow with 3 modified bolts. He had 2 stakes strapped to his thigh. And he had a flask that when you investigate it smells like oil.
Three on the roll.
In addition to those things, you find a journal stuck in the breast of his vest.
Nick will grab it, turn to the back of it.
The last words on the back are, I don't know how tonight's going to play out, but I have to see this through. And then it's signed Alexander Carlisle. Suddenly you're in the middle of night space again. Hovering over that one last little box. You utter Alexander Carlisle little lock. Snaps. Readying it to be open. Do you open this box? Or do you try to resist?
Open the box willingly.
You open the box. And we're going to come back to that. Bellatrix. After the smoke clears, what do you do?
Did I hear the shots? Because I think they were like right.
Yeah, I would have
Close to
gone
where I
right
am.
by you, actually. Yeah, so the smoke cleared for you. That's right, your position's different. The smoke cleared for you. You saw the 2 hunters standing there. You hear Alex basically state he's going to put down Lyndon. You hear a snarling sound. And then in the span of a second, you watch as a bullet goes through Alex's head, and as he's falling down, he suddenly gets shoved on his back as Nick latches onto him and begins draining what he can from Alex's body before it fully perishes. And then another bullet takes out the second hunter. You turn, you see Pothill packed up and fuck off. What do you do in this moment?
I'll move to the doorway. I'm going to peek in.
You see Matt kind of cradling Mina.
Shit.
Past them, you see an individual wearing a black kind of petticoat, black slacks, boots. He's got a derby hat with his gun propped on the shoulder of what looks to be a half-dead walking corpse. Behind him, you see Hodges kind of like laying on his back. One of his arms is missing, but he has a very satisfied smile on his face as he's kind of looking at the ceiling. And you can kind of hear some stuff going on back.
Is the guy in the petticoat aiming at Hodges?
He is not aiming past Hodges.
I'm going to sneak in since I activated Unseen Passage last round to Hodges.
Okay. You make your way over to him. He's kind of, give me a wits and obfuscate. While you're doing
2
that,
successes.
2 successes. Maggie, before I continue with that, you hear the gunfire stop. You see the smoke is gone. You hear an explosion. And then you see Bellatrix go in. What do you do?
Does she hear or see any police sirens approaching?
Not yet.
Okay. Since William went in to do a sweep, she's going to call Jarvis to come around closer. Because there might be other cleanup that's required, and she's going to head into the building.
You head to the building. Are you doing this quietly, or are you just doing it?
She's going to try and do it quietly.
Okay, make dex and stealth. Because you are going a little more cautiously, I'll come back to Bellatrix. You make your way over to Hodges, who immediately his eyes shift and lock onto you as you approach. Just kind of smiling, and he kind of lays back. As you approach, he does appear to have received some burning. His left arm up to the shoulder is missing. In fact, you can see it about 3 feet away. And across the way, where you see William pointing, you see the individual in the orange coat, seemingly unscathed, kind of propped back, sitting on a crate. And he is drinking from one of the mussel that they brought in. When he stops, he kind of daintily cleans his mouth, drops the arm, and just continues waiting, watching William. And you can hear some kind of struggle happening back behind the crates, that on the other side of the crates where you are with Hodges. You are with Hodges. Is there anything you're doing?
I'm going to crouch down in front of him, or like near his head, still obfuscated though he can see me. I didn't know you were invited to this party, Hodges.
It took a couple favors.
You want to get out of here?
Oh, the lights back on. It's not nearly as fun. Yeah, I suppose we can go.
Do you want your arm?
Yes, I suppose that wouldn't look good for my guest, would it? He kind
Suppose
of
not.
rocks back up into a seated position. Kind of looks around. Gets up to his feet. And where were you? He goes over, picks up his arm, and kind of slings it over his shoulder.
Outside. I'm not one for violence to this magnitude. Also, it was really dark inside. I couldn't see.
Well, that was half the fun.
I had fun too.
Well, I suppose that's all that matters.
I'll take him around, or back through, or back towards the front door.
As you're kind of like, I don't suppose Gray and Sophie are still alive. I do believe my task was to help either of them. I completely ignored that to murder things.
I don't see Gray, do I?
Gray, what would Gray be doing in this time? You killed a hunter, the shadows have dropped, the gunfire has mostly stopped after the explosion.
This blood is wasted. I do want to slake at least a point of hunger. I do not want to bite the body, however. I don't want to leave any fangs. This one can look like it died from a stab wound to the neck.
Okay.
And no post-mortem wounds to deal with.
Easy enough.
And then I want to try to get see if I can get a view of what's going on with Edwin.
You being the only person with the perspective to see Edwin at the moment. You peek your head through the door. You see Edwin standing with his arm kind of outward, hovering over where you see Jurgis bound and writhing in the floor as a series of shadowy kind of arms are beginning to squeeze around him.
How much do I know about the disciplines of the blood?
You give me intelligence and hope. In addition to that, I need to ask, are you trying to remain unseen?
Yes, I am trying to remain unseen.
I also need to dex the stealth. Check some objects are fucking off. Well, give me a wits and awareness Bellatrix to see if you can spot Gray.
Okay. Two successes. Possible bestial failure.
3 successes on the intelligence and occult, and 3 successes on staying hidden.
And yours was 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we will come back to Gray. Bellatrix, you don't spot Gray on her yet.
Okay.
I'll say, for the sake of you, just take one.
Cool. I'm at 4 hunger. Yay.
So are you just leaving the scene, just stepping outside?
I will pause by Matt. Put my hand on his shoulder. We should go, Matt. Let's take her with us.
Try and stop me.
At this point, you have spotted Nick is kind of in the corner with a couple of hunters, but he's kind of kneeling down in front of Alex. But he seems to not be present.
But he was bestial, sounds like he'd lost it the last time I saw him feeding on them.
Just a few moments ago, yeah. Looks like in the time that you went and spoke with Aja's got everything rounded up and we're heading out. It looks like he's moved the bodies over and he's just kneeling in front of Alex.
Nick, are you coming?
He's unresponsive.
Nope, not today. I'm heading out.
Maggie, Matthew, you're taking Mina and leaving with them?
Yep.
Alright.
Would I be able to get to him before he leaves?
You would be passing them.
Okay. Maggie will stop at Matthew, and she will look down at Mina and give him a very sympathetic look. Jarvis is bringing the hearse around. There's a place for her that's comfortable. You can ride with her if you'd like.
I planned on it. Thank you.
Okay. She will start getting an assessment of the area so she knows what to do for cleanup. And she'll start approaching. Does she see Nick?
Nick, you would be able to see Nick kind of in the corner.
Okay. She will approach him. Mr. Baldridge?
We're going to pause that moment there because that's good. That's where that's going to escalate. Right. Sophie, where did you go for it? Sophie, where did you just leave entirely? Like you just took Duncan and ran?
I was going to head toward the car in case they needed help carrying people out, or if they needed quick access to the blood bags. So Sophie's brings Duncan toward the car.
Okay. You would have gotten out there before the rest of them. Duncan kind of... He thanks you, but considering the situation, he's very weak at the moment. I'll say you leave him at the car and get ready for everybody else to come up, and then you can have that in a moment. Great. What was that roll on the occult?
3.
3. I'm going to make a roll for occult. He holds him in place there with your 3. You know, like, basic level, kind of like academic, these are kind of the domain of these particular practices, and they tend to go here. I will say it's enough for you to recognize Oblivion visibly. It's the only thing that looks like this. At this moment, you see the shadows raise Rutkus up to Edwin, You see Edwin is saying something. And then you watch as the arms constrict.
Can I activate heightened senses in that moment to hear what he's saying?
Give me another what's an awareness.
Five success.
When you activate the ability, you see the shadows beginning to kind of contort or constrict further. You didn't get to have what was mine before. You failed to take it from you 15 years ago. And I'll see to it you don't get the chance to fail again. I'll be sure to tell your daddy you said hello. And you watch as he begins to destroy Ruckus's body, crushing it to a pulp. Throwing the mess to the ground in front of him. Fixes his jacket, and then walks toward the center of the room.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take that as my cue to exit.
Out the back door.
I'll make my way out the way Sophie came in.
What is on Gray's mind as you're making your way out?
Gray was concerned that Edwin might have been a bit of an imposter. But he's convinced now that he's not. He's just a pretender.
Let me come back to you. It's been a very long night for all of you. Maybe an hour before the sun starts to break. Nick, everything settling in, everything you've lost, everything you've gained. Whatever set you on the path that put you in this spot is behind that box. When you open it, all of your memories come back. Your name is Lyndon Carlisle. You were born in New York City, but you've been in many places. You met a woman when you were about 26 by the name of Michelle. She showed you a lot of wonderful things. She had a way of getting in your head. And then she revealed what she was to you. And your entire world was changed from that point. Soon after, you were a fool for along a kindred in the city of New York. Didn't take long before you became with Primogen for a while. And before long you had the trust of the prince of the city. Michelle seemed very proud of you, but there was something about the city. She never really agreed with the politics. She constantly was struggling with how things were ran. You remember a dinner party one evening during Elysium. You remember seeing Michelle wearing a very elegant dress. Comes up, smiling, and she touches your arm. But she was not strong enough. You had managed to surpass her to the point that she could not prevent a premonition from popping at that moment. And you discovered your sire was planning to assassinate the Prince of New York. You thwarted this, betraying your sire and showing loyalty to the prince. He did make you one of the most powerful individuals in the city. But she was beyond furious. As she's getting pulled away to suffer her fate, she locks eyes with you. And as you see her getting ready to utter the words, jump a moment. You're a child, playing with your brother Alex. And you begin seeing flashes of you growing up with Alex. Until you discover that you receive a memory where you ate his wife. You lost yourself to a frenzy one evening. That's when he discovered what you were and swore to put you down. And you had several years back and forth. You trying to save him, trying to get him to understand what you are and that you're not the monster he thinks you are. You remember that you pull back the memory. You weren't using your son as a shield. You were trying to show your brother that you're not much different than he is. And this is the moment that Alex softened. This progressed for a little while, and then you come back to your sire. The next time you hear my name is when you meet the sun. And then you remember panicking. You remember setting forth this plan that took you roughly a couple years to accomplish. Breaking your mind, immediately erasing her name from your memory. But remembering the nature of the effect, trying to create these different little blocks to prevent you from ever remembering her name. Ultimately erasing your own personality or memory of the closest ones to you. And then coming to as Nicholas Buckledge, moving to St. Pete. And as all of that comes to the surface, you hear the voice in your ear. Michelle Graves. Been a long time since I've heard that name. It's time, sweet boy. And for the first time, you no longer feel the presence of that name, that voice. But when it happens, everything just deadens. With no expression. No discernible body language. You rise to your feet. You turn to the door. And you walk. You hear your coterie at some point trying to get your attention, but it just thrumming sounds that you can't fully comprehend as you continue walking. I will come back to the group for a moment. As you are all getting ready to leave, you see Nick ignoring you, walking off. What do each of you do in this moment, knowing the information you know? In character, obviously, but starting with cultures.
Should we stop him in case he tries to eat? Sorry, Sophie. Eat a whole entire bar again?
We may need to stake him. If he's in such a state.
I'll reload the bolt gun. Pass it to Gray.
I'm just gonna sit there. It looks like he's gotten his fill, and he doesn't exactly look like an animal. But not my coder. I'm sorry, not my coterie.
I'll hold it up to Gray. It's up to you.
I will say at this point, you all generally know what has happened. With Mina, with Alex, you will have a picture now.
Snatch up the bolt gun from Bella. Head Nick's direction. Don't say anything to the rest of the group.
Maggie, Matthew, Sophie.
Maggie will take Alex's body and start to follow Matthew to the hearse that Jarvis has probably pulled up by now.
Yeah, Matt is just focused on getting Mina in a car and out of here.
Sophie's also mostly concerned with making sure Duncan is okay and trying to get a plan for where we'll go.
Dolly.
At this point, Edwin steps out, sees the group. Where is everyone?
Gray's rounding up Nick, who's going through something again.
Sun's coming up soon. We need to go.
Should hurry, Gray. Sun's coming up.
Wave her direction over my shoulder.
You continue moving.
Trying to catch up to Nick.
He's just walking. Doesn't take long to close the distance.
Where are you going?
He doesn't respond. He has a very determined expression. You see that his face is stained. And he's just walking.
Move around in front of him.
He tries to walk past you.
Step and block his way.
Stops moving.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
He stops moving. Finally acknowledges you. But it's like there's nothing upstairs. He's focused. It's like he's looking through you.
I know Nick has had his mind pretty thoroughly destroyed. I don't necessarily know all the details. But given the strength of what he's been dealing with, I don't think that I can counteract it. Maybe I can temporarily give him some sort of reprieve. I'd like to try to compel him. Even for just a moment. Come back to us.
You utter the command. And you find... Give me what's an insight.
Three successes. Bestial failure if that's not enough.
Take an aggravated willpower. As when you try to use this ability, you find yourself overwhelmed. As you try to take control for a moment of just a portion of what Nick is, it's very much like a water gun trying to control an ocean. This is Nick, this is Lyndon, and it's the absence of both.
Does he look there enough? That will impair me, by the way. Does he look there enough to resist if I were to try to physically stop him?
I'll say, based on what you just witnessed, whatever it is that he's trying to do, he will do anything to accomplish it.
I'll glance over his shoulder back towards the rest of the coterie. See if they're looking this direction.
Wave a hand like, wrap it up.
You can see off on the horizon the light. The sun hasn't quite reached yet, but you see the light starting to come through.
Oh, with the lights coming, I'm going to find a place to sleep.
This is about that time, so you would, if you see that, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, Maggie would have also headed off with Matthew and the bodies.
Yeah. Oh, I'll go with Hodges. I'm done.
Edwin waits by the car, We don't have time for this, you guys. We have to go.
I'll take a step back.
He continues walking. He continues. At this point, Edwin comes up behind you with the car.
Get into the car.
You watch as the windows darken to the point that you don't really see Nick so much anymore, as Edwin starts trying to get to a safe haven nearby. After a moment, you can no longer see Nick. Nick, you continue to walk until you reach a very open clearing behind some of the buildings in this complex area. You feel a burning sensation, but only for a few moments. Drying up the still wet blood on your face. And the pain suddenly turns into a warmth that you haven't felt in a lifetime. No voices. Everything's quiet. And then there's nothing. As your ashes are carried off in the breeze. The rest of you are taken to a nearby safe house. Not enough time to get back into Cambria territory to your own homes. Edwin directs the cars to a closed off kind of gymnasium, a school that looks like it quit being used probably years ago. He brings you all inside. Sits quietly for a moment. It's done. And with those words, we'll bring this session to a close. Thank you all for tagging along to the story so far. It has been amazing watching it unfold with all of these, and a special thank you to Truck for trusting me enough to tell the story. We will see you all in the next chapter.